All right, good morning. And thank you to those of you who are tuning in live. Of course, an anticipatory thank you to those who will be watching later. Today is the day that you'll get your first look at the cast of The Mole, Ohio 2023. Um, Before we get to that, though, I think some introductions are in order. Since I know this is my first time being on the LRG podcast. So my name is Tim. I am the, I guess, creator and I guess you'd say producer of The Mole, Ohio. And then I'll let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm John Wells. I first got introduced to the LRG world a couple years ago with Columbus Big Brother. I was able to get runner-up in season 2, which was exciting. And now I produce and host my own game, Columbus Survivor, which we have coming up in August 26th, 27th. And in the Mole 2022, I was the Mole.
Hi, I'm Rachel. In the Mole 2022, I was the winner of the Mole Ohio. So John and I got to work some chaos together and it was very fun. And I also, you'll get to see how I did in Surviving Bloomington coming up this winter. So keep an eye out for that. And I think that's it for me. And this was my first time being an on-screen host with Tim, so it was a pleasure to do that.
Yeah, and you were both, as folks will see, you're both very great on-screen co-hosts. And that actually is, okay, so kind of something that I want to talk about just a little bit before we get into introducing the players for this season. As you both mentioned, you played last time in the Mole Ohio 2022. So I want to just ask what it was like making that transition from playing the game last time, whether as a genuine player or as the Mole, making that transition to hosting this time.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So when I played Mole Ohio last year, I had just the thing I did before was Columbus Survivor, John hosting, and I had failed miserably. I was feeling kind of defeated, and I was like, I'm really not. This isn't my thing. But I went in and I was like, I'll just have fun and be as entertaining as possible for as long as I'm there. But of course, you still have that stress, right? Like you still are in the game, you're still trying your best. And so what I loved about being on screen host is I didn't have to stress at all. I could just be as dramatic as I wanted with no consequences.
Yeah, that's so real. And playing as the Mole is so stressful and exhausting. And I remember when I went home after playing, I just was more exhausted than I had been in years. Like lying and cheating and deceiving is really exhausting work. So it was nice this year to be able to see other people doing that and get insight on how the game's being played. And I played another Mole game as just a genuine player. It didn't do very well, so I was just excited to see other people do well and have fun playing.
Awesome. Yeah, and it is, I can only imagine how stressful it is to be the Mole and have to take on that kind of emotional, psychic burden of constant deception, even if it is only for a day or a weekend. Cool. So I think now it is time to introduce the players of the Mole Ohio 2023. So I have this handy slideshow here. And I think I speak for all three of us when I say that this was a phenomenal cast. And I'm really excited for folks to get to know these players and see how they mesh or maybe don't mesh as well. Okay, so our first player that we'll be introducing is Greg.
All right. So Greg knew who I was and like ran up and gave me a hug. But he ended up, we're connected through Queen Hannah Fleming. No, Hannah Reinhardt now, if you didn't know.
Good catch, yeah.
So it was just great. And he's such a likable person, right? You just end up loving him immediately, even if you had no idea who he was before. And he is a Survivor fanatic that came up many, many times. And so I think you see a lot of his Survivor roots come through and how he approaches the mole.
Yes. Yeah, and I think he was the founder or originator of the Survivor club at OSU, Survivor Time and Change at OSU. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so next we have Trish. Trish is 32 and is a freelance romance writer, which is such a cool occupation, I think. And definitely, I think that coolness is evident in Trish's personality. She's so much fun. This was her first LRG. She's kind of new to the LRG world. But one thing that came up was that she had some mutual friends with some of the other players. So that was kind of funny. It was just sort of like worlds colliding for her, I guess. And then we have Matt.
All right. I have a soft spot for Matt. I just think he's a good guy, right? I had a chance to play with him in Surviving Bloomington, and I felt like it was just clear this was only the beginning for him. I had no idea, of course, at the time I would see him ever again. So when I found out he was playing, I was so excited. He's 32. He's a college recruiter, very easy to get along with and talk to. And so it was just really fun, again, to see him in another game. And I'm excited to see where he'll be next, too.
Yeah. Another behind the scenes thing about Matt is Matt did not secure a place to stay overnight. Right. And I actually was able to host Matt for that evening and get to know him a little bit better. And it was a nice time.
Yeah.
And he's also one of the two Hoosiers in the cast this time. We had,
right.
It was all Buckeyes, but for two, and we'll meet the other Indiana player shortly. But first,
Kyle is 29-year-old database engineer. Kyle actually played in Columbus Survivor Season 1 for me, and he's actually going to help. He's helping produce Columbus Survivor Season 2, which is in a couple weeks. And he actually is the executive producer for his own game, The Golden Gates, happening in October on the 6th through the 9th in Columbus. Kyle is a good friend of mine now after our experiences together. And so I was really excited to see him on the cast.
Awesome. Next, we have Amy. So Amy is 30, and she is a technical customer service associate. Amy and I go way back. We are both from the same town in Ohio, and so we went to school together, basically all through middle school and high school. And so it was really fun for me to reconnect with her when she was on the cast. I mean, we talk in between, or we've had opportunities to talk in between, high school, however many years ago that was, and playing or her time playing in the Mole, Ohio, but it was really fun to reconnect with her. And this is her first LRG. She's very new to this world as well.
Mira is a 26-year-old health advocate. Mira is actually my coworker. So I did get to work with Mira a little bit before I found out she was playing the game. I believe this is Mira's first LRG, so we're excited to always see that with folks. And she was a pleasure to have on the cast.
Awesome. With Tyler.
All right. Next we had Tyler, 32, webmaster, the other Indiana player coming, and he was on production for Surviving Bloomington, and so I didn't interact with it. It's different interactions there. Always a friendly face. For me, I see Tyler in the Mole, Ohio, someone like slow and steady, right? Like pretty just slow and steady, and it was just fun to kind of watch him continue. I'll just keep it there.
Yeah. Awesome. Next, we have Lydia. So Lydia is 36, and she is an optician. So she's actually the oldest member of the cast this time, but I think that was kind of surprising to folks to realize that she was 36. Not that 36 is old, as I'm getting closer and closer to that myself. But yeah, Lydia has just such like a we'll talk about like kind of word associations with the players, but she has such a like kind of free-spirited personality. I think she's really just kind of a magnetic person. I think she is not new to the LRG world. I think, John, you have some connections with Lydia.
Yeah, she helped me. She helped be a production assistant for my first Columbus Survivor game. I had no clue who Lydia was. I was just happy she was there to help because we needed it. Kicking that off was a struggle, but we made it work. And Lydia was a big part of that as our winning tribe mom. So one of her tribe members actually ended up winning the game. So I love that connection.
Yeah, awesome.
And she's the only mom on the cast, right?
Right. Yeah.
I love to see the mamas play.
Mom, yes, yes, we love the mom representation. Awesome. And then, so that's 8 players. We have one more player who is possibly a familiar face to some of you, Nathan. John, do you want to talk about Nathan?
Yeah, Nathan's a 21-year-old area manager intern. And Nathan played in the Mole, Ohio 2022. He was one of my victims. And it was really exciting to see him get a second chance at the game. And I was really pleased to see him on the cast so I could see him back at it again.
Awesome. Yeah. It's, I think, kind of becoming a tradition for the Mole, Ohio to invite back somebody who was kind of like fallen angel gone too soon. And with Rachel, obviously ended up winning on your second time. So we'll see whether Nathan is able to continue that trajectory. But yeah, so that's, I guess, kind of becoming a tradition, having somebody as a returning player. Maybe it'll happen next time too. I don't know. All right. So that is the kind of cast of characters for the Mole, Ohio 2023. Like I said, definitely a really phenomenal cast with I just think that the gameplay was being done at such a high pitch. It was so much fun to watch, and I'm really excited for folks to see that for themselves when the episodes start rolling out next week, next Thursday, in fact. So that's, what is that, August 17th? Time TBD, but that is when we'll be premiering the Mole, Ohio 2023 episode 1 on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and all that sort of stuff that content creators are supposed to say. All right. And then I thought that it would be fun to do just kind of like a word association game with as another way of getting to know kind of each of the players, and a little bit more of a sneak peek, maybe. So we'll just go in the same order. Greg. The word that came to mind for me, partially because of his name, but I think it also fits his personality, is gregarious. So that is the word that came to mind for me.
Yeah. The word that came to mind for me was goofy. Just a fun-loving kind of goofy, and really, really an attractive personality.
Yeah. I had social, because I just think everyone immediately falls in love with him, right? And so he's able to make those social relationships very easily.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Trish. I think that the word that best sums up Trish as a person is vivacious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think she's so much fun.
Yeah, I wrote down badass for Trish.
Yeah.
Like,
also a good one. Yeah.
Getting to talk with Trish was great. She's just a strong character, and I really like that in people.
Yeah.
For Trish, I had plot driven, and one of her mantras is "do it for the plot," which I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Since she said it, like, that is something that's still, I'm like, what can I do for the plot today? I don't know. So you'll get to see what Trish did for the plot in the Mole, Ohio.
Yes, absolutely. Matt. So for Matt, the word that I chose was composed. It could be that that was sort of like an illusion, I guess, or a facade, with like the duck with the legs going constantly underwater. But the image, I think, that he projects, or the energy that he projects, is definitely very composed.
Yeah, I wrote down cherub for Matt. He's just a precious little baby angel, and I think the word cherub got tossed around during the game a little bit. I can't remember who tossed that around, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I had hero, and I don't know if it was because I just wanted to root for him because of our previous connection, but I just think just has that hero, you're gonna root for this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so for Kyle, I think the word that I settled on was attentive. That's something that others definitely made note of, was how attentive Kyle was, and kind of constant note taking.
Yeah. For Kyle, I wrote down strategic. Kyle in the game was strategic, and I've played like board games with Kyle, and he's always just really in tune with strategy, and just a really smart guy. Yeah.
I had the word coy. I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Amy, I tossed around a few ideas for words that I might select for Amy, but I settled on enigmatic. I think that, and I mean that in the best way. Just sort of, folks mentioned that they had some trouble reading her sometimes, reading her energy, or intentions. And I think that enigmatic captures um, that essence of Amy.
Yeah. I wrote down chill. Amy has this calming energy about her that I'm really attracted to, because I tend to be a little bit more chaotic and excitable. So that chill energy is a nice and refreshing.
Yeah.
I had the word pensive, right? She
Uh-huh.
was more quiet, more reflective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because she was more kind of like introverted, that was also why maybe she was at times perceived as difficult to read or potentially underestimated.
Yes. And that was actually kind of gets to one of the other words that I was tossing around, which was sphinx-like. I think that she has kind of that, which captures the quietness also as well. All right, Mira. For Mira, I think this was one of the easiest ones for me. It was smart. Mira is just so smart in, I think in general, but certainly in her approach to the game as well.
Yeah. Smart was one that I had written down for Mira. And, I knew that going into it, working with her. But the big word that I wrote for Mira was savvy.
Mm-hmm.
She's just really good at analyzing situations and making decisions based on what she's gathered.
Yeah.
I had the word connected for Mira. I think she did a really good job at creating some of those one-on-one connections with people as she played. But my backup word was messy, because I also think there's a little chaotic mess at
Of
times.
course.
It was fun to watch. Good
And we
team
love
meeting.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. So Tyler, the word that I chose for Tyler was reserved.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could also maybe say calculated, but that sounded a little bit too negative. Maybe in the context of the game, it's not negative, I guess. But I think so. I settled on reserved. I think that is a good way of describing just kind of his demeanor in general.
Yeah, I wrote down sus. Tyler gives off this sus energy, and you just never really quite know what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had calculate.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry to steal your thunder. I'm sorry.
I think, but I just, you could see the wheels spinning in his head, even though I had no idea where those wheels were going to go. I felt like he was slow and steady, and he knew when to like make those moves, like when to change up that slow and steady gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so for Lydia, I mentioned this earlier, but the word, I guess it's a word with a hyphen, that comes to mind for her, for me, is free-spirited. She just has this kind of, as somebody in the cast mentions, has desert vibes, which I think is an interesting way of putting it. But yeah, that was the word that came to mind for me, free-spirited.
Yeah, I wrote gentle for Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
She, much like Amy, has this sort of calming presence and a sort of just like I just feel chill when I'm with Lydia.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had observer. I felt like every time I was had my eyes on the cast, seeing who's doing what, who's talking what to do. Like some people had their heads in their notes. Some people were really doing these like big conversations and plotting. But Lydia was someone that was really watchful of her surroundings and who was doing what. And I think that helped her in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. And then finally, Nathan. So I think this one was another easy one. There's really only one word that came to mind for me for Nathan, which was, and I think that it would be the first word that he would use to describe his gameplay in this game as well. Chaotic. Definitely a very chaotic presence in the best and most entertaining of ways. I think maybe on the ground, like it could have been frustrating to some of the other players, the kinds of chaos that Nathan instigated, which you'll see as the episodes roll out. But and here's a good word from in the comments from Michelle, another Mole, Ohio alum. Nathan is underestimated.
Ooh.
Could be very true, especially given how his game went last time. Kind of again the sort of the fallen angel vibes there. Yeah. So,
there's only one angel.
Only one.
No.
Yeah.
But anyway, chaotic was the word that I settled on.
Yeah, and Tim's right. That is the only word. That's exactly what I wrote down was chaotic. Nathan took my game style from last year and just and did it better than me. He just was chaotic the whole time, and I'm sure that was probably frustrating for the other players.
Well, I just had the word player. Like I was kind of like, let's go. Like he just went in as a fighter, right? And I don't know if it will make the scene, but there is my favorite moment with Nathan. I was crying so hard, and I hope you all get to see it because tears. So, teaser.
Yeah, I'm trying even to think to myself like, okay, what moment would that have been? So I guess I'll have to.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, let me know later. Awesome. Okay, so those are the players. You'll get to, of course, meet them more fully in the premiere next Thursday, August 17th. And Michelle, another reference to last time, not forced tears. If you have, and I should plug this because I'm, new to being like a content creator type person or whatever, but I should plug the Mole Ohio season 2022 last season. Make sure to go back and watch that if you haven't already, so that you can understand that inside reference to forcing tears. Awesome. So those are our players. I want to just now kind of in closing spend some time giving a little bit of a sneak peek into some of the overarching themes for this season. One of which I think we've kind of mentioned a little bit already, just in the ways that we've introduced some of the players. But I think one of the main themes is introverts and extroverts. So that's something that gets brought up in a lot of confessionals this season. It was really interesting to see how that was something that that folks really latched onto, and kind of, debating or contemplating whether one of those would make a better profile for the mole than the other. And I think that dichotomy between introvert and extrovert drives a lot of the suspicions that arise in folks, and also the strategies that are implemented. it was really interesting to see like kind of that was something that folks grabbed a hold of.
Yeah, I think perceptions come into play, especially in the mole, right? And I think one other way to categorize people was like there's heroes versus villains. There's some obvious hero type people you're rooting for, you're drawn to, and then there's some other people you're rooting for, but because you want to see what kind of chaotic thing they're going to do.
Yeah.
Seeing the coalitions break off and just get as intense as they did was really cool to see in this season.
Yeah, there was like I said earlier, the game was being played at such a high pitch this time. So much constant scheming and strategizing, which was so cool, especially since several of the players are new to LRGs. They've never done anything like this before. And others who are not new to LRGs are new to the mole, or playing the mole. I mean, and so it was just, it was so much fun. It was very like kind of gratifying from the perspective of like producer or whatever, and someone who put this cast together, and seeing how they came to play this time. Not that they haven't in the past, but it was just at such a fever pitch. Yeah.
I think if you didn't know, they came off as all well-seasoned players, and they clearly all did their homework to some extent. Another kind of idea, it's not really a theme, but idea that I had just been thinking of is like the tortoise and the hare, right? You have some people that were the slow and steady, more calculative, patient, and then you have some people that just took the race and went forward. Now, it might not have had the same ending as the tortoise and the hare, but I think those are like two different types of players that we could see kind of evolving.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another one that Rachel already mentioned is Do It for the Plot. I think that could easily be kind of the subtitle for this season. And I'm not sure that we actually ever like captured that being said on camera, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that was definitely the mantra that Trish entered the game with, and I guess enters each day of her life with. And I think that got picked up by consciously or unconsciously by a lot of the other members of the cast as well, which again just goes back to that sort of playing the game in such a dynamic way. Oh, we have Troy. Love this panel. Yes. Oh, thank you, Troy. Yeah, we're I did not want to hand over creative control to anybody outside of the Mole, Ohio sphere, I guess. But yeah. And again, for those who have not followed the previous season, Troy was a player, a member of the cast last time. And I guess we've already spoiled that Rachel was the winner and John was the mole last time. So Troy was the runner. Troy was the runner-up last time. So he would be kind of the other member of season 2022 Mount Rushmore, I guess. Yeah. So those are, I guess, kind of the themes that I picked up on. Definitely the introverts and extroverts dichotomy, which I think is kind of connected to the tortoise and the hare dichotomy in some ways. I think those got kind of folded into each other a lot of times as well. And Do It for the Plot, and then just like again the constant scheming, strategizing. And like John said, the coalition's kind of breaking off, and shuffling, kind of throughout the course of the game.
Yeah. I'm so obsessed with this cast and how it all went. Like, I can't wait for everyone to see how things shake out. And
yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, this was a phenomenal cast. And like Rachel said, if you didn't know, you would think that they were all seasoned LRG players, seasoned mole players even. And that was so much fun to watch happening in real time, and I think it'll be at least as fun to watch in the weekly episodes.
Sorry.
Sounds like we have a visitor on Rachel's
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
Sorry, we made it. We got to the end. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think one last comment I wanted to make is I just thought there were so many times that I was guessing myself. I know John and I both opted not to know who the mole was, and I was privy to some of these inside conversations, and it was so ambiguous. I think people are really going to enjoy watching this season. I think they're really going to be guessing and second guessing and triple guessing, and they're going to be frustrated when episode 1's done and they have to wait for
yeah.
So,
yeah, and this time I am doing weekly episodes.
Yeah.
Last time I kind of pushed them out a couple episodes a week. This time going to be more of a slow burn. So apologies in advance to those of you who like to binge watch. Yeah, but I think that it'll I think it lends itself better to kind of the slow burn. Any show like The Mole. Yeah. All right. So that is all that I have. Again, make sure to tune in next Thursday, August 17th. And also follow the Mole Ohio on Instagram if you don't already. I don't have a Facebook presence. This is being streamed on Facebook via the LRG, the Live Reality Games podcast. But you won't be able to find the Mole Ohio on Facebook. You will be able to find us on Instagram. It's just at the Mole Ohio. And then, of course, we're on YouTube as well. Any other closing thoughts from John or Rachel?
I'm just excited to see these episodes and get even more insight into what happened, because I only got to see what I was recording or what I was present for, but to see the full picture will be really exciting.
Yeah, to see the full narrative of the week, and that is one other difference between this season and previous seasons of the Mole Ohio is that this takes place over the course of a weekend, of a Saturday and a Sunday. And in the past, we've just done it all in one day, which has meant that the game has had to be played a lot of times at such a rapid pace that some of the strategizing, there's just not as much time for it, unfortunately. And that maybe is another reason why this cast was so strategically minded, is because there was a little bit more downtime, I guess, quote unquote downtime, between challenges, for instance, where those strategy sessions could take place. And I think that does change the dynamic of the game in really significant ways, that you have sort of part 1 taking place on Saturday and part 2 taking place on Sunday, with, of course, some reflection time in between as the players go back home in between. Yeah. All right. So I want to thank John and Rachel for taking time out of their Wednesday morning to join me, so that I wouldn't have to be just kind of talking to myself, essentially, while I introduce everybody. And again, just thank you to those who took the time out of their mornings to watch this live stream. And thank you to those who are going to be watching in the future. Because I know that this is kind of a not necessarily like the most amenable time to be watching something live. So, right, and that's all we've got. Bye bye.
Bye.